on our first episode. Welcome back to my channel, Life After Relapse. And I'm really excited to finally put this legit first episode on for you guys. So, I know I've been posting a lot of videos, well, two videos that mainly give the gist of what this channel is about. This channel, I pray and hope that it will grow into a safe place for people who are in recovery, in addiction, or in a relapse. I used to tell a lie. I went to prison for the first time in my life in 2014. I had recently met who is now my husband, and he had kind of already been down that road. So when I met him, I was on the run, and when I went to prison, he waited on me, and we are now together, and we are married. So I learned that in order to get clean, you have to truly want it. And you have to truly want it every single day. Now, sometimes our mind overrides our body, or our ass overrides our head. Sorry, but just saying. And we do what we don't want to do. I'm very Christ-centered. Paul said, I do the things that I don't want to do, and I don't do the things that I want to do. It is not I who sins, but the sin that dwells within me. I believe that's in Romans chapter 7. But it's very hard. So I used to tell a lie. When I first got out of prison, I did my math, and I said, okay, so 13 years I was in drug addiction. And then, I was sober the whole time I was in prison. And so that was easy. But then when I got out, I stayed sober, but then I think something happened, and I hurt myself, and I ended up getting prescribed painkillers. And so I was going back and forth. So this is my husband, Doug. What you want?
Get one of the in.
Oh, okay, you can just say hi.
I can? Oh, hi.
Yeah, it's a pre-recorded video for YouTube.
Oh.
It's for the YouTube channel.
I'll put that back for me?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Let me kiss.
I love you.
I love her.
Okay, so I got out, and all that happened, and that's kind of what happens to us as addicts. Satan knows exactly what to dangle in front of us, even when he knows that we will not give in. Still, he will keep dangling it, because he knows that if he can catch us on that day where we have just had too much of everybody's crap, that we might give in, and we might throw all of our sobriety away just because we felt like crap or felt like getting high for just a minute. So I would tell myself, well, it's a prescription, it's prescribed to me, it's okay. Well, then when I ran out, I found myself trying to get more, and that did not last long, because I finally, after a few months of hiding it from my spouse, I came clean, and I told him, I am using again, I'm using pills, it's going to be a disaster if I continue to go down this road, I need help. Excuse me. So we decided to look into the Suboxone program. I was familiar with the methadone program. I had been in the methadone program 6 years prior to meeting my current husband. Me and my ex-husband were in the methadone clinic for 4 or 6 years. I can't remember. But see what I mean? I can't remember how long I was even there. Horrible thing to be on. If you're looking to stay clear-headed and sober-minded. Now, once you are on something like methadone for a long time and you're taking it for pain management, you don't get high off it anymore. It's killing your pain. And no offense, but part of the reason why we're pain-free when we take methadone is because it gives us that euphoric feeling. Sometimes that's all it is with these painkillers, guys. So we can't be judgy on people who decide to go to the methadone clinic, or who decide to do Subutex, or who decide to do bupanol, or whatever. We cannot judge these people. We need to embrace them and say, hey, you know, whatever journey you need to take, whatever road you need to take to continue your journey peacefully is all right with me. You know, I have a dear friend of mine, been my best friend for 20 years, and she's a methadone patient, and she seriously, you know, she wishes she could go to the Suboxone now. But, you know, she's comfortable where she's at. She has gotten to a dose where she's finally comfortable, finally okay. She's got a good doctor. And, you know, that means more to me than whether she's on the same medication as I am or receiving the same program as I am. You know what I'm saying? I am just happy that she has found peace in her recovery, you know. So, I would lie. And I got on the Suboxone. But I was not using painkillers, but I would use Adderall or Xanax or something like that. And I was getting drug tested, but I wasn't using right away. It happened later, and I came clean about it. And, you know, I didn't come clean about all of it. And that's what we do as addicts. We slip up, and we don't want to tell the whole truth about our relapse because it will devastate the ones who have watched us sober up and get it together. And that is why we lie and we don't tell anybody. And then everyone's mad at us when we do come out. There are so many people who are so upset at the fact that I lied for 3 years about my sobriety, rather than being grateful that I found real recovery. And I just met my first year of sobriety with no relapse. First time ever. I am 38 years old. So I have people that are like, well, but you lied for 3 years. You know what? I don't care. You know, I'm sober now, and you can just walk out and not be in my life. Some of these people, you know, unfortunately, I have to deal with them for the rest of my life because we're tied as family in some way, shape, or form. You know, so it's not easy. It's not easy. You will have people that will be very upset that you are sober now. And if you take all of the skeletons out of your closet and put them out there, oh my gosh. People will wish you were back on the sauce, because they'll say, oh my gosh, this person we never thought would get it together and get sober, got sober, or we thought they did, but they lied to us again, and they did a very good job at hiding it, but now they're claiming they're really sober. I just don't know if I believe it. And that's how people are. And that's the way we work, and that is the way we operate. You know, so I wanted to create the channel because now that I have actually met a year of sobriety, I feel that I can help others. I always heard, like in meetings, and I don't do meetings, but I always heard, like in meetings, that you needed a sponsor, someone who had at least a year of sobriety under their belt or something like that. And I've never had that. So anytime people, you know, when I was pretending to be sober all the time, going to a church in Chester, South Carolina. I'm from Myrtle Beach. I currently reside in Arizona. But we went to a little church in Chester, South Carolina. If you are ever there, please check it out. It's called Amber Church. Wonderful, 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 wonderful group of people. Faith-filled, fire-filled, Holy Ghost-filled. But they have a wonderful Celebrate Recovery program. And, you know, people are like, oh, you'd be great as a mentor, or you'd be great. And it's like this whole time I'm sitting here jacked up on Adderall. So, you know, I was like that with it. And I'm ADD, ADHD, so I was justifying every time I took it. It's not my script, but if I went to the doctor, I could get one. And I could go get one right now. I choose not to now because I don't really need it. I am a medical marijuana patient. I have a legal card that gives me the right to obtain a certain amount of medical marijuana at any given time. And that has helped me way more than any pill I have ever taken. They have topicals, they have distillates, and I also have used it just to see if I could come off my Suboxone. I went 2 days and did not take my medication. I even told my doctor this. I said, I just forgot. Never forgotten to take my medication in 4 years. So that tells me this is what I can use to come off of it. And one day I do want to come off of it. Does that mean I want to come off of it now? No. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's working. It's doing what it's doing. I lied about being sober because I have children. I didn't want to upset my kids. I've always kept it real with my oldest boys. My oldest boys saw the most. They saw the most. And so I'm always kept it real with them. So the first person, when I decided that I wanted to come out and truly be sober, I was so deep. I was in a relapse that I could not get out of. My spouse was there with me. We had fell into this horrible relapse together. My father had passed away from a violent fight with esophageal cancer. As soon as I got out of prison, he found out he had it. So I had only a few years with him. But I was sober through that time. When I first got out of prison, like I said, I fell, broke some ribs, got on the painkillers, but then I got on the Suboxone, and I was good after that, And my father never had to see me in that kind of shape, thank God. I never wanted him to know that I had slipped up once again, but I fixed it immediately, the quickest way I knew how. Now, I knew I couldn't be honest with everybody about the Suboxone. My mother, I had to be honest with her about it because we were living with her at the time. While I was in prison, my mother was nice enough to tell my then boyfriend, now husband, if you want to take a bus out here and if you find a job, you are welcome to stay with me. And he did. And he stayed sober. He did really well. And 3 months later, I came home. I think I ended up doing 9 months. But when I came home, he understood that I was now a different person. I had found Christ while I was in prison. And I had realized that God was real. I had realized that there is power in him. And therefore, I have power if I allow him to dwell within me. And I had learned this to be true. I didn't know a whole lot about what I had found, but I knew that people talked about jailhouse religion. And so I made myself a promise. I said, I will not leave God at the gate. And because that's what everybody does. They just leave him at the gate when they leave, I would pray, God, please don't let me leave you here when I leave. Please let me take you with me, everything I've learned. And I did. But when I started going to church outside of prison, when I got home, I realized, people really liked my testimony. I have been using drugs, hard drugs, since I was 18, I think. 18, 19, something like that. I told my story, which you will hear very many stories. I'm trying to write a book about my life, my husband's life as well. He is a 9-time felon, and I am a 5-time felon. So we have quite a bit of history that we believe will resonate with many of you, or loved ones that may be watching that are dealing with an addict and they just don't know what to do. I have advice for anyone who is a loved one of an addict. Please go, even if the addict gets clean, please go get yourself some help at a Betty Ford Center or something, because it takes its toll on our loved ones. And So I came out about my relapse after my father died. My marriage, my husband had relapsed shortly before my dad passed away. I did not know my husband was going through stuff. I was so caught up. I was on social media like every day. I was doing direct sales. I was selling makeup at the time for a company called Limelight by Alcone. I loved it. I was one of the runners, I was on the front line. I had my own team. I was always live, and I had a big following. But when I had relapsed, or when my husband had relapsed and I had found out about it, the minute I found out about it, my dad passed like the next day. So it all hit me at once. And, my husband, he just didn't know what to do because he was just like me. He was like anyone else. All he did was make a mistake, and we just had to figure out how to fix it. But, when you find out about something like that, and there were, it wasn't just that, with a relapse, with using comes many, many, many other things. So we had to deal with that and deal with the loss of my father, and it took both of us down. It did. We were so toxic for each other. We were blaming each other for one another's problems, which is never okay. So we got counseling. We did our very best. We got sober for a few months, but then we started dabbling later on that summer, and my mother was like, you just have to go, because she knew. She knew. She would try to deny it, but she knew, and she had to do what she had to do. So we left, and later on, we managed to get it together for a little while, and then we decided to go to the next summer. I mean, a whole 2 years went by. He passed in 2018, I believe. But anyway, we just had a hard time. So we went and stayed with some friends. Things didn't get better. Then we decided to go stay in a hotel, and I went on Facebook and said, listen, this is what's going on. We have relapsed. And I just poured out everything. He said, my mom's kicked us out. We understand why. We're trying to get sober, and we want to go to Arizona. And, my husband was working, but we needed more than just his paycheck. And I wasn't working, and since I was relapsed, I wasn't doing my videos. So we got money from people from all over on our friends list on Facebook, put money in our PayPal account, and we managed to get a hotel room for a couple weeks, and then we managed to have money to come out to Arizona. When we came out to Arizona, we were sober. We stayed that way for a couple weeks. My husband went to work with some people, and apparently they were using, and they were out of town all week, every week. So that's what he was doing while he was supposed to be working. And when he would come home, he'd have it, and so I'd do it with him, because I'd rather do it with him than fight with him. And we did that for about a month, and I decided I really wanted to quit. I really wanted him to quit, and it was just so hard. And I used, and he had left to go out of town, and I had used one last time, and I literally felt like I was dying for 3 days. My dogs did not leave my side. Every time I would take a drink of water, I would immediately have to go pee. And this was methamphetamine. This wasn't heroin or crack cocaine or anything like that. So it was very hard. And I finally prayed. I hadn't prayed in a long time, and I prayed, and I said, please don't let me die. I don't want to use. I just don't know what to do about my marriage. I don't want to keep fighting with him. And God spoke to me, and he said, I am not going to let you die, but you will never forget this as long as you live. And I haven't. I have not. So I told my husband about the experience. I made an arrangement with my brother, who is a member of the LDS church. I said, I need missionaries to come out here and pray with me or something. I was a praise and worship team leader in a Southern Baptist church, which was kind of non-denominational. We really didn't care who came in. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I loved it. So I was close to God after prison and everything. But when this happened, my brother sent missionaries over. and I started praying to God to show me the truth. And I said, every time I try to get sober, it's like I'm not strong enough. Something gets in my way, and I'm not strong enough, God. And I need strength. I need the truth. And the missionaries came. My husband couldn't believe it, because like when my brother joined, like I was so against it. I really was, because I just didn't know a lot about it, and that's all it was. They came. I told them the truth. Told them that I had only been sober a couple days, but I told them everything. And when they left me that day, I knew that what they had came and told me, I knew that the message that they gave me was true. And I also felt 100% healed. This was after they left. I was brought to my knees by the Holy Spirit, and God gave me visions and showed me that this message was true. So I, right then and there, I just repented for everything. And I was just so moved. I was so moved. And I felt like this darkness trying to come over me, like trying to overpower me. But I just kept, the vision was a cross, and I just kept looking at it in my vision, and I wasn't afraid, and I was just so thankful. And when the missionaries came back the next day, I told them I wanted to be baptized immediately. Like they were, wow. And I was just like, I know what I felt, and I know that this church is true. I mean, I've never felt truth like that except in church when I was doing worship and stuff. I know that the Holy Ghost. So my husband continued to use. I asked him, please don't bring it in the house, please don't have it in the vehicle, and he respected that. Every weekend he would come home from work. We wouldn't talk about whether he used or not. He would be in the bed recuperating, but I would wait on him hand and foot, because I would rather have him sober and in bed resting than like that. And I just kept my cool, and I kept my patience. And my husband and I ended up getting put out of the house we were living in. At the time, we were living with his two oldest sons. They were also not doing too great. And one of the boys just was creating some problems, and we were paying majority of the bills all the time, and they just had no respect for the place, no respect for us. So they got together with, I guess, their mom and put a protection order on the dad, made up some story. And we had to be put out. We had to leave our own house. And we had nowhere to go. All of our money was tied up. We had a double authorization that had all of our money tied up in the bank. It was a Saturday. And I was like, no. And I could tell I was looking at my husband's face. And I could tell, I was like, I know what you want to do. I know what you want to go do right now. I know you want to go get your bag of stuff, and I know what you want to do. But please, give me today. Just today. And if we can't figure something out, you can do whatever you want after that. He was like, well, what are we going to do? We have no money. We don't know anybody. I don't have gas to drive around all day long looking for a place to stay. We have 2 dogs. What are we going to do? I called my brother. My brother said, you can bring the dogs to me. After that, I said, let's go to the church. He said, what's the church going to do? I said, I don't know, but let's just go. So we went to the church, and the missionaries were there. They were having a talent show, so they were there. And I went inside, and I told them everything that happened. And they said, get your dogs and come inside and tell Doug, my husband, to come in. Well, Doug didn't want to come in. He just wanted to sit in the car. He was really mad. So the dogs came in. They gave them fresh water. They gave them food. They gave us food and fresh water. We were not members of the church, by the way. I had only met with the missionaries 2 times when this happened. Okay? And that was within 1 week. So they had only known me a few days. I told them what happened. And they said, pen and paper, write down your needs. And so I wrote down a place to sleep for at least a day so we can figure out what to do, something to eat, and gas. And so we explained, we showed them on the bank thing on the phone. We tried to get some Jack in the Box the night before, and it declined our card, and we found out there was a double authorization, 2 of them. So our money was tied up. So we literally had no way of getting anything. And one of the bishops, he was a fill-in for the bishop in this ward. He said, I can't give you any money. I can't get you a hotel, but I can fill your tank up with gas. I said, that's great. So he did that. And they got in touch with another bishop. By the time we got to my brother's house, we had a hotel room waiting for us for 2 nights. And it was not just like any hotel. It was the Marriott. It was nice. We could not believe it. I was like, we could have taken that money that they paid for 2 nights and gotten a freaking weekly somewhere. But, you know, we were just grateful. So they helped us like we couldn't believe it. So we went to church at that ward that Sunday. We explained everything that was going on with the family and how, you know, we didn't know what to do. And, you know, the bishop was kind of like, you know, you're not in our town anymore. You're in a different town now, because they put us in Chandler, and we were in Maricopa, and so it's not really my problem anymore, but you can go to the ward out there. So it kind of made us feel weird, like, okay, now he's just putting us off on another ward. But it was perfect, because we ended up becoming members of the church because of the people in the ward that we met out here, and they helped us like never before. It's amazing. So that's just a quick little introduction on how we got to Arizona from South Carolina. The next time I'm on, I will probably talk more about when I would use and then I would relapse, and I would keep going back and forth. You know, it's really hard when you're making progress with something and then you fall back. It is really hard to admit that you have fallen, and it's really hard. It's just hard to be the person that has to be the bearer of bad news. If you are a loved one of someone who is using and they tell you, I relapsed, please don't give them crap about it. They already feel bad enough about it. They're telling you because they're hoping you'll wrap your arms around them and say, listen, we're going to do whatever we got to do to keep you sober. But when you relapse, you need to tell me, thank you for telling me, keep telling me. And then you can look out for signs. I have a friend of mine who says right before her boyfriend relapsed, every time before he relapses, he shaves his head. And that's how she knows. And, you know, sometimes it's stuff like that. Sometimes it's smaller things. So hopefully this channel will help some of you learn between fact and myth on why we relapse, how to overcome it, and how to be open about it. Thank you so much for coming and watching, and I hope that you subscribe to this channel, and I hope you tell your friends. Please comment below if you'd like to see any certain topics covered. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for coming to Life After Relapse.